fancy intro music. Yeah! Woohoo!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And number one, happy Freedom Day, everybody. If you're a fellow American, enjoy your Independence Day. Please celebrate responsibly, and I hope you have a great time. And for everybody else out there, well, you're welcome. For what? For us being us. Yay, America. Today's video, I'm going to cover something that kind of fits the theme of what we've been doing recently. If you've been paying attention to the stream, this is something that I kind of want to do because the game has grown so much here in Star Trek Fleet Command. As you can see behind me, I'm currently mining oxygen, which technically isn't a new thing, but it is something that we still have to do. Which brings into question, okay, what things are dated, what things are not. This video, we're actually be talking about something that if you are looking to go, up in levels, G4, G5. So if you're going into the 40s, going into the 50s, this is gonna be something that's gonna be good for you. And again, fitting our theme of going over. This is the last one we did. So if you're curious about sarcophagus, check out that video. We can tag it at the end of this one. So today, we're actually gonna talk about a research and a state, because it can be a little bit confusing as the title kind of predicts here. Assimilate. What does that mean? Where does it apply? And what is outdated and what is still applicable to us today? In fact, over the past couple weeks, I've been getting a lot of questions as more and more of you are leveling up about these researches right here. Now, I've already seen that there's a lot of confusion around them. So if we scroll down, you're gonna find stuff like this. And you go, okay, adaptive weaponry increases base weapon damage against assimilated faction ships. What does that mean? And by the same logic, well, what are pattern disruptors and how do I get them? Well, today we're going to cover all of that because number one, let's kind of fill in a blank. This is outdated. Like, this is dated content, but that doesn't mean that it's not useful. So let me go ahead and explain what this is. This has nothing to do with Assimilate that you might want to use with certain new PvP officers that are coming out, like that guy right there. Mirror Universe Picard. See how he needs Assimilate to get like really juicy? Yeah, that has nothing to do with these researches. So to give you context, Assimilated as a faction, which is what it's referring to, goes back to when G4 first rolled out, which is like 4 years ago. It's been a long time, but it opened up a new area of space at the time called the beta sector. And you'll notice it right up here. I've actually got ships pre-positioned here so I can show you all some of the systems. Now, the point of the beta sector was to give players a new place to grind, and it had certain rewards that at the time were very, very useful. One of the main things that you wanted to get to was the beta sector itself, and there is a mission that locks this system. Now, to get to that mission, to complete it, you simply need to go through your main storyline. For those that don't know, going through your main storyline, there is a gold border around your main story mission. So if you complete those, you will eventually run into this beta sector one, which you can run into in G4. So what was the point of this system? Well, there's a couple things. I guess I should have grabbed a screenshot of it, but there was a massive Borg cube mission hostile that you have to kill here that is no longer massive, and then it opens up these hostiles. You know, the hostiles that Rev has been bugging Scopely to turn into skins that, you know, uncommon skins we can get 20 bucks for. Yeah, that. But regardless, you can see now it's like 15 million power. That's nothing. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that's today. Remember how we just talked about on the live stream that power creep has made everybody stronger? Back in the day, when you got your Katinga, this was hard. Like, that wasn't easy to beat. That was much like my hairline. That was a long time ago. So, anyway, back to the constructive part of the video. These hostiles drop certain rewards. What type of rewards? Well, right there, you'll see pattern disruptors. You asked about where you get those, and then broken ship parts. When this came out, this was a great place to get broken ship parts. One of the best payouts for broken ship parts for hostiles in the game when it came out. Still does pretty well, as well as pattern disruptors for research. And you'll notice that these assimilated ships, that's the faction ships. They're assimilated Borg ships. And if you scroll in, you'll notice they have a little faction tag, ASM. So when we talk about dated content, we're talking about things that don't really apply anymore. This doesn't really apply for most players. You're not going to come out here to grind broken ship parts anymore. Why? There are better places to do that. Several better places. Silent hostiles are a better place now. But regardless, that doesn't mean that it's completely useless. And that's why I have the pre-positioned ships. So for example, take a look at these systems right here. You might go, well, what is valuable about those? So let's turn on the mining one. Number one, yes, you can still farm these systems for broken ship parts. And truthfully, since a lot of people don't really go here, you might be able to do it undisturbed if you're, say, on a server that is constantly in war or something like that. So quick little heads up. But let's take a look at this system in particular. The reason that you might find people here, like this level 55 player, shout out to, who is this? Shout out to Spot the Cat. Great name, by the way, TNG fan. These are large concentrated latinum nodes. So if you were to say wanting to mine, let's say you wanted to mine with your Fisha, these are some of the best concentrated latinum nodes in the game. Even today, these are really good concentrated latinum nodes. And as you can see, not a lot of people think about these or go to them. Typically, when people think concentrated latinum, they are just sticking to the main systems. Maybe they're in faction deep space and they're looking at places, where's one right here? There's one right, there it is. Something like Block Verman, which I'm not saying is bad. We can just go ahead and look into that system as well. But if you compare like the nodes and how big they are, they're much smaller nodes. You have to sit there and reset these more often. Whereas again, the big point of these out there was they were much larger nodes. So allowing you to get more concentrated latinum without having to constantly monitor was the advantage. You know, while we're sitting here looking at this, let's put our Fisha out real quick. So here's my tier 9 Fisha. And you look right here, I can mine at 404,000, meaning that in less than basically half an hour, I would have filled that up. But if I come back up to those areas of space, I think my Tribune was it's in the 53 one. So there are 4 different ones. But let's look at the 55 one and compare the Fisha there. If you wanted to get your Fisha there, same spot, but I'm able to actually leave it there for over an hour and it can mine a lot more concentrated latinum. So it takes away a lot of the active aspect of concentrated platinum. So when you're talking about some of these researches, and again, just trying to refer you to those researches, I'll put them right there on the screen. These researches are kind of dated content. That doesn't mean you can't do them. In fact, I always talk about more is more, and they will boost your overall power and you have those benefits for that. But the big confusion is some players are conflating Assimilated as a faction, which is what those researchers are for, those hostiles I just showed you, as the same as stuff like here with Assimilated Picard and his abilities requiring Assimilate, which is an ability that is procced by officers like Mirror Universe Data, who can activate Assimilate, right? So you want to maybe have, or here's the ability to create Assimilate can do a lot of things. Remember, Assimilate will reduce officer abilities on the opposing ship, as well as allow other officers to take advantage. You have Mirror Universe Data, who can proc it. If you also come up to the Borg officers, you'll run into the man, the myth, the legend that was the original set that came out with Dazok, whose below deck ability can proc Assimilate, but can't really do it until the second round. But still, maybe some value there, and there's his full upgrade marks and his full what he does as you unlock him and upgrade him. Now, sourcing him comes through the Borg Solo Armada loop, which is not an outdated loop, so that's good. But that might be something that you go, okay, well, now that makes a little bit more sense. And hopefully you can comment down below if you've learned something today. But this Assimilate feature and this research are 2 different things in the game. This research is kind of dated, even though the area of space, I would argue, still has value for a lot of players. Y'all know that I personally am not a huge miner, but at the same time, I understand a lot of you are, and most of you would probably rather go, drop a Fisha on a node that you could mine for 2 hours versus actually doing a reset every 20 minutes. Now again, this is still based on warp range and can you get out there and all those various things. And there are ways to improve your warp range. Now I showed you the biggest nodes, but at the same time, that entire area is kind of filled with really good sized nodes. So just to show you warp ranges, I'm going to use this ship, which has a very low warp range. So your earliest concentrated latinum system is going to be warp 205, which, again, discoveries, things like that should be able to get you there. But you'll see it also is 255. There's another 205 one. The big one here is warp 320. But to look at what even the 51 systems provide in terms of concentrated latinum nodes, you're going to see, still around the same where you were at before, a little bit decent depending on what you're comparing it to, but it gives you a space that's probably less populated. And I'll be honest, even as a pirate, I don't ever come out here. So it's an area that, let's just say, you're on a server where you have a lot of revs out there, guys who like to OPC hunt. We exist, and the gals too. But they're probably not coming way out here. Why? That's kind of an honestly simple answer. Travel times. I'm not flying 6-7 minutes for something that there might be 2 people out there who aren't OPC. So This is an area of space that in some ways has become forgotten, and maybe only veteran players out there remember it. And if you're one of those veteran players, I'd love for you to chime in and let me know what you think. But this is still valuable to many. I just want to make sure that you knew whether things were effective or not. And again, that research doesn't apply. Now, I'm not saying don't do the research. You do need to, in fact, do the research. If you come to your combat tree, you'll notice that it needs to be done to progress through various loops. So you'll get your kinetic shockwave, your energy blast, and you got to go through these to start pushing into these as you prepare for 5-star. Again, like I said, this is a video mostly for players entering into the 40s and 50s, as this content will apply to y'all. Now, I will eventually close up, and then you'll find in the 50s you have another set of currencies to grind after, so you can go after the super highways, which is going to be your raw intelligence. But for these little sections right here, if you've ever been curious, okay, what are these? What are power disruptors and what are they for? Now you know. Hopefully it helps you out. And even though this research might be a little bit dated, you can still absolutely do it just for the power increases and simply to progress down your tree. Just don't confuse the assimilated faction with assimilate, the ability. So if this helped you out, do me a huge solid, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, share it with your alliance mates and such, and comment down below if you have other questions or if you need help with Star Trek Fleet Command or any other games that we play here on YouTube or on Twitch. Live long and plunder. Stay safe out there, Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Happy 4th of July, and I will catch you all on the next video.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.